Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to our developer experience live stream for what's new in May of 2026. The last time we did one of these was May of 2025, so it's been an entire year. So we have lots to talk about, lots to catch up on, lots of new updates, really cool things for Esri developers. So before we get into it, we're going to start with a quick round of introductions of ourselves. So I'm Courtney Otto. I'm a developer advocate here at Esri on our developer experience team, and we're actually all a part of the developer experience team. And I've been with Esri for almost 4 years now. And I am joining from Alexandria, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Cheryl.
Hi everyone, my name is Cheryl Tania. I'm a product engineer on the developer experience team too. I've been working at Esri for about 2.5 years and I am based in the Denver, Colorado office. I will pass it over to Mark.
Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, my name is Mark Torrey. I'm with the developer experience team. Been at ESRI for 20 years now. And I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. Over to George.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Yep, so I'm George Owen. I'm also on the developer experience team, working with security and auth, and I've been at Esri for about 4 years. And today I am joining from Long Beach, in California. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Amy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Neeson, and I work also on the developer experience team. I am the developer community manager. I've been with Esri now for about 2 decades, and I'm coming to you from Redlands, California, and I just recently took over Cheryl's office when she took off to Colorado, so pretty exciting. I'll hand it back over to Courtney now.
Awesome. I didn't know that. That's cool. Great. All right. Well, let's take a look. I see some people have already shared where they are joining from as well in the chat. So it's great to see. We've got a few from Ohio. We've got Chicago, Seattle, Texas, Brisbane. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, just continue to tell us where you're coming from. We'd love to see where you're located. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So we are going to start with Cheryl. Now, Cheryl is going to share with us some open source updates and a little bit about some service updates as well. So Cheryl, pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Courtney. So as Courtney said, we have so many exciting updates on the open source front. Oops, sorry. Accidentally stop sharing. We have so many exciting updates on the open source front. Last September, we launched the MapLibre ArcGIS plugin. This is an official Esri supported plugin for working with MapLibre GLJS and ArcGIS services, such as the Basemap style service, feature services, and vector tile services. The plugin also handles proper Esri and data attribution automatically on your map, so you do not need to do that manually. We also completely revamped our MapLibre GLJS and ArcGIS developer guide to fully embrace this new plugin. All of the example apps that you find in this guide are built using the plugin, specifically for displaying base maps and certain layers. The plugin just makes it so much easier to write code and makes the code so much cleaner too. To prove my point, I'm going to show an app that was built using the traditional MapLibre.js way, and I'm going to convert this to use the plugin. So in the past, we would have to define the base map enum, and then we would have to use this very long URL to display the style on the map. And on top of that, we also have to manually add the attribution after we display the map. With the plugin, we can simply import it first, and then we can get rid of that enum, and we can get rid of the style on the map, and also remove the attribution. And we can paste this just a couple lines of code, and it will achieve basically the same thing by calling MapLibre ArcGIS and applying the ArcGIS street style on the map. Another exciting update is that alongside the plugin, we released 5 new how-tos. So how-tos are longer, more in-depth tutorials that guide you step by step to accomplish a full development workflow. You can find them by going to a chapter in the guide and then expanding the how-tos folder. For example, we'll take a quick look at these create and style vector tiles how-to. This how-to, as you can see, guides you through creating a feature layer from a GeoJSON, styling it, publishing vector tiles from it, styling it again in ArcGIS Vector Tile Style Editor, and then you get to build the app. So this is very suitable for complete beginners. Last but not least, another cool feature of this plugin is support for Basemap sessions. Now, what is Basemap sessions? A Basemap session is a time window up to 12 hours during which a user can access unlimited Basemap tiles in their application. This means that instead of being charged for individual tile requests made in your app, you are charged only once per session. And this makes it so much more cost effective for many applications that require high base map usage and user interactions. And with the MapLibre ArcGIS plugin, you can enable Basemap sessions with just a few lines of code and also handle session management and expiration automatically. If you want to learn more, you should check out this tutorial called Display a Map Basemap session. We also created a migration documentation for developers migrating from Mapbox to ArcGIS to help streamline your onboarding, as well as a full API reference that covers all supported classes in the plugin. So please try out the plugin, and as always, we welcome feedback and contributions through our GitHub repository. It's called MapLibre-ArcGIS. Now, I will pass it back to Courtney.
Great. Thank you, Cheryl. That was some great updates. Great for the MapLibre developers, and then also the Basemap sessions that you mentioned. Just one little note there. That is specifically for ArcGIS location platform developers. So you have the opportunity to use those sessions. Yeah, if you are using location platform. Great. It doesn't look like we have any questions currently. But be sure, if anyone does have any questions, we'll be answering them, throughout the stream. So feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll answer them as we go. So great, thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Courtney.
We're going to go ahead. And move on to Mark, and Mark is going to talk about static maps, which is in beta, Postman collection, some other stuff. So take it away, Mark.
All right, great. Thanks, Courtney. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the changes made to the ArcGIS Static Maps service currently in beta, and how you can quickly generate clean, embeddable static maps without using a mapping SDK. So if you've used the service previously, or if it's new to you, this is a great time to take a look. The service has a new structure with some updated requests, and the docs are now centered around more use cases, such as centered at using many points or along a route. A little sneak peek that polygons or areas are kind of on the roadmap and coming soon. So we'll start by looking at the ArcGIS REST API page for the static map service. And one thing you'll notice is that the service is organized around a clear set of requests. So each service has a get and post request associated with it. And so the get request will be beneficial to quickly send parameters to the service and get a map back with built-in symbology. And then if you wanted a little bit more functionality, you can use the post request, which accepts custom symbols, so you can send your own PNGs and have them placed on the static map itself. So definitely a lot of good stuff here in the REST API, along with documentation of the attribution. So if you want to put attribution next to your static map, you can do that as well. Okay, so that's the REST API. If we look, we've also added the beta request to our ArcGIS Postman collection. So if you go over to postman.com/Esri Devs and get into the ArcGIS Services APIs collection, you can see under the Location Services folder here, we've added the Static Maps folder in beta with the requests for both get and post. So once you have access to the Postman collection and you have an API key, you can set your authorization token in the authorization section, and then you can just kind of play around with all the requests for each of the types. Right. So if I send a request to get a map with a single point, or maybe I want to change the style to imagery, I can do that. And once again, these are non-interactive maps, so it's just a static image essentially. And so, yeah, definitely suggest taking it and looking at it. You know, if we wanted to see multiple locations with some some custom symbols, we can do that. So these are all kind of pre-configured and allow you to go in and make any changes. And we'll run one with a route here. All right, so this is a route with some custom symbols, and you can see we can provide our custom symbols here as base64 encoded values. Essentially, these are SVGs. Okay, so that's a lot of cool things to test out the beta service with. I also want to take a moment to show you, if you need access, if you want to try out the service, to go over to earlyadopter.esri.com. And once you sign in there, you'll see there's a static maps opportunity here. So if we go in there and log in, then we are presented with all the information we need to get started. So you can begin testing. There's some ways to submit feedback. So if you wanted to add any issues or suggestions, there's also some nice tutorials that run you through how to actually interact with the service step by step. So you get prerequisites, steps, display, using curl and get requests. So those are pretty handy for testing this service as well. And then finally, kind of a little sneak peek for the developer guides. The static map service is being added to the mapping chapter. And within this chapter, we have a nice overview of what it is, how to get it, and also some nice, oops, sorry. A little playground apps for each request. So if you wanted to come in and maybe just use an app to make changes to the static map, you can do that here. If you wanted to adjust the width, you could do that there. Maybe make it 150. All right, change the format. Delete a point, or maybe just add a point. We can do that with the service, and then also give you an overview of how to use it, what the URLs are, and the required and key parameters. Okay, so I think that's all I have to show today. So the short kind of short story long, the new ArcGIS Static Map service is in beta. It's easier to use, has clearer request patterns, supports more common scenarios, static mapping scenarios, and now has documentation plus a Postman collection to make it straightforward to use and test. All right, so we definitely want everybody to go out and check it out. So back to you, Courtney.
Great. Thanks, Mark. yeah, some awesome updates for static maps. That also is an ArcGIS location platform exclusive, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Good. Yeah. So one thing, and I may have missed it, but did you mention some good use cases for static maps service?
I didn't. Yeah. So thanks for bringing that up. So really, a lot of them are for if you're not using an SDK, especially for like receipts or summaries, confirmations or reports, and you want to embed a map into those type of media, this makes it really easy to do. So if you just want to embed it on a web page, you can make a single request and have your static map there.
Yeah.
When you have updates, you just make a request and it gets updated. So.
For sure. Nice and instant. Awesome. It looks like we do have one question up here in the chat. It says, can static map be accessed through portal?
Like ArcGIS Enterprise portal?
I assume we'll go with that. And
yeah.
then,
So assuming for it, you would really just need to have a ArcGIS location platform account to access it currently.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Again, if you have any questions, we'll be answering them throughout to the audience. And we are going to go ahead and head on to George, who is going to show us some authentication updates. So go ahead and take it away, George.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, I've just got some quick updates around authenticating with ArcGIS, and this is especially relevant for pretty much all developers that are going to be authenticating. So it's not specific to any SDK or language. So let me just share my screen here. And the biggest update that we have to share is around the retirement of legacy API keys. So these legacy keys are about to fully retire, and they will be revoked next month on June 27th. So if you don't know what a legacy key is, it's an API key that was created before June of 2024, so about 2 years old at this point. And these were the original implementation of API keys, and they can no longer be created or edited. So if you haven't made it, if you've made any new keys after 2024, you're probably set here. But any existing apps that still use these legacy keys are going to stop functioning on June 27th. So it's important to update your apps before that point. We actually have some documentation here that explains how to do that. And I think it's in the description of the channel, of the live stream as well. So we have a tutorial on our developer website about how to update to API key credentials. And API key credentials are basically the new replacement for legacy keys. They're, pretty much better in every way. They're a drop-in replacement, and they have additional privileges they can access and some new features like rotating API keys and customizing the expiration date. And the legacy keys do not support any of that. So it's a big improvement. And they're also fully supported in ArcGIS Enterprise, which is new for them. So we got a link to this in the description, and I think there's going to be an email getting sent out about this as well if you still have keys in your apps. But on the topic of these new API key credentials, or rather, they've been out for a couple of years, but they actually just received a new update in March during the March release of Online. So just want to show off what's new with these. I'm going to head over to my ArcGIS Online portal. And here I'm on an item page for some API key credentials. You can see that's the item type. And this update is going to be available to Location Platform and Online currently, and it's coming to Enterprise at the end of the month. And basically what we've done with these developer credentials items is we've added a new experience for creating and editing API keys. So now if I go into the settings of the key, I can scroll down and look at the privileges that it has. And right now it's only got one privilege, which is the Basemap service. But here I can click edit in this new button. And right away you can see that the editing experience has been updated. So this is a new workflow. And there's a new screen here that's asking where will you use these credentials with some options. So the goal of this screen is to really provide some guidance to users and help you all select the correct environment for your key. And depending on the choice you make in this menu, certain privileges and functionality will be enabled or disabled later down the line. So public application is the option that probably most people are going to choose. And this, if you choose it, you'll be able to grant your key access to specific items, so content in your portal, just one by one. And you'll also be able to grant your key access to location services. And that's pretty much the only thing you'll get access to. And these are considered safe privileges for use in a public app. If I back out and select private app instead, so this option that says private app with selected privileges and access, this is going to enable some more, I would say, like higher risk privileges on your key. They're very useful, but they should only be used in secured environments. So the purpose of this new screen is really to communicate that and make it really clear that you shouldn't be putting these in your public applications. Now, since I selected private app, I can do additional privileges to grant access to all of my items or grant like broad edit, create, delete items privileges. And you can see that in the actual privilege selector, rather than just location services, now I have access to spatial analysis, I have access to general privileges, I even have access to admin privileges that are associated with my account. So I'd be able to grant my API key access to any of this stuff. And this includes privileges like managing your members of the organization, if you're an admin, deleting members. So definitely not stuff to enable lightly on your key. Yep, for most cases though, I would say public app is a great decision. And especially if you're working with that new static map service that Mark showed, or any of our location services. Yeah, I'd say in general, the best practices for a key is to grant it the minimum set of permissions that it needs. And yeah, the screen has been introduced to help make that decision a little bit easier. All right, I think that's all I got. That's what's new with authentication. So I'll just pass it back to Courtney.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, George. Authentication is something that is so important, but also can be a little bit confusing, but you did a great job at explaining all of that. So thank you. I will say that someone asked for one of the URLs. I dropped that in the chat, and also tons of different URLs that we've been showing, these different resources. They are all in the video description as well. So if you wanted to access anything we've shown so far, then you can find those links down below. We did get a question about AI in the chat. If you could add some clarifying details about what you mean exactly. Are you asking about artificial intelligence? We haven't mentioned anything about that specifically yet, but if you could clarify that in the chat, and we'd be happy to answer it in a little bit. So, all right, thank you so much, George. We're going to go ahead and move on to Amy, who's got some awesome updates about events and more exciting like social media things. So, all right, I'll hand it to you, Amy.
Thanks, Courtney. Hi, everyone. So as the developer community manager, a lot of what I do is support our activities and events that are going on and share them with the developer community, which is so important so that everybody knows what's going on and how they can participate in some of our events coming up and activities. So first thing that I wanted to kind of share with you all is the newsletter. So this is a great way for you to stay in touch and also to stay in the know on what's happening and what's going to be coming along. So please make sure if you get a chance, the link is there in our description, but we'll also have that available for you is to sign up, to subscribe to the newsletter so that you can stay abreast of everything happening. We're very active, very busy, and I'm about to show you all the all the things that are coming up right now so you can see all throughout the year everything that we kind of engage in. First and foremost, we have our federal technical webinar series that's been going on. We started this back in March, and it was kind of a nice way for folks to kind of keep up with some of the main topics that we wanted to share within our developer community. And it started kind of after our FedGIS program, where we do have a developer day at FedGIS, which is a conference event of ours that takes place in Washington, D.C. in February. So we followed up that conference with some of these webinars that are taking place, and we've gone through 3 of them so far, and you can access the recordings as well if you click on the links down below on the Federal Technical Webinar page. You can also access them through Esri Video as well. But the next one that's coming up is the strategies for mobile and desktop application development. That one's going to be taking place on May 26th, and that'll be at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. There's no cost. You just subscribe, register for it here at this landing page, and you're all set, and you'll get notifications when it's going to be coming. The next one after that is going to be in June, and it'll be about architecture. So make sure to register for that, and you won't want to miss those. Those are about an hour long, and they are recorded as well. So if you do happen to miss them, you'll be able to follow up with them at a later time. The next thing, of course, is following up with our live streams. Thankfully, you're here for this one, which you'll see here. But the next one's going to be on our Native Maps SDK, latest release 300.0. So that's going to be taking place in June 11th. That'll be at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And you'll see a link to it after this live stream here on our YouTube page. So you'll want to make sure to follow up on that so that you can catch that coming up in June. And then in July, we will also be participating, and we'll have a developer program at UC where we have our developer track filled with all of our sessions. You can get access to that through our custom agenda for developers, and we also have a link for you to click on there. So you can add that if you're attending the user conference. It takes place in July 13th through 17th in San Diego, California. And you won't want to miss us there, but also we have an area within the expo that we would love to meet with you and discuss any kind of questions you might have, or if you'd like to see some of the latest features we have a lot of developers and software engineers there that can help answer those questions or show you what we have. So we'll be there at UC, and you can check out the sessions here in our detailed agenda for that. In a couple of days, our Developer and Technology Summit that took place in March this year in Palm Springs, California, the videos will be available, will be live to you from the recorded sessions. And they'll be here in our proceedings page. You'll want to make sure to click on that to access the recordings and be able to see what you may have missed, or catch something again if you were able to attend our Dev and Tech Summit in March. But we welcome you to do that in a couple of days. They will all be available to you. Following the Dev and Tech Summit in March, we also have our European Dev and Tech Summit that's going to be in October this year, 20th through 22nd in Frankfurt, Germany. So we're getting ready to get that launched here within the next couple of weeks, where we will have the registration open. But at this point in time, we're actually accepting submissions for presentations. So if you're interested in presenting at this event, you'll want to make sure to bookmark this page and follow the instructions for getting involved and becoming a presenter. So we're very excited to host this as well. And that'll be coming up in the fall, of course. In addition to the newsletter, you can also keep up with us on social media. Not only do we have a presence on X, but we have a presence on LinkedIn. And we have our LinkedIn product page here, which is with developers, Esri developers. So you can catch up on the latest releases, any announcements that we have from our teams. You can catch that here. But we also have our developer user group as well on LinkedIn. So you can actually engage with us, ask questions, get some answers if you have any thing that's kind of pressing in the work that you're doing day to day. Our developers and software engineers can also check in here and respond back to you. So, and as you could see, that the live stream was announced here, and it keeps you up to date on things that are going on within our developer community, as well as what we're participating in. So that's about what I have for you today. I'll hand it back over to Courtney now.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, lots of different ways to stay connected with us. Hopefully, you guys have seen. And I know at least Amy and myself will be at UC, and I think a couple others of us here on the live stream will be there as well. So we'd love to see you, like she was saying, in the booth area. again, thank you guys so much for joining today. It looks like we've hopefully answered all the questions in the chat. Yeah. And like Amy said, our next live stream will be native live stream in just a little under a month. So be sure to join us for that. And yeah, one other mention is that this is, being actually recorded. So if you missed anything, you can certainly watch the recording later. So thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.